And ladies, thank you. It is 1 o'clock. Zoe, are we good to go?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. Pretty good. All right. I will declare the December Finance and Corporate meeting open, and we will move straight to apologies. I have 4 from Philip Coles, Mike Pettit, Liz Stoll, and Takina Sterling. And that's the lot. So I had a mover from Claire and a seconder from Lou. All in favour? Contrary, no. That's carried. Thank you. Disclosure of members' interests. There being none, we'll move to late items. There being none, we'll move to confirmation of order of meeting. No reason for change, Ken?
No, shouldn't be.
All good. Could I thank you, Roger? Thank you, Claire. All in favour? Contrary, no. That's carried. Okay. So, update from the Cambridge Town Hall Community Trust. Welcome. Hi, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sure our 2 visitors from the Cambridge Town Hall Community Trust don't need much in the way of introduction. So if, with your leave, I would pass directly to Kirsty and she would commence the presentation.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Was she that bigger?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
somebody's onto that. Yeah,
Perfect.
it just takes a while for our equipment to.
That's all right. Like my brain. Well, thank you for having us here today again. We thought it would be a good opportunity with some of the new councillors on board now to just recap sort of where we are and who we are, what we're up to, and also to introduce some of the things that we've been doing. Because there's been a whole lot of work going on in the background that I'm sure is not very visible to the public eye, but be assured that it is going on. So firstly, just a quick introduction of our trustees for those that don't know us. So I'm the chair, Kirsty. I come from a chartered accountancy background, also in commercial space. We've got Rob Feist, who is our deputy chair, and he has had a lot of community involvement in the past and some really good experience with fundraising. And Tanis Prasuta is an architect. Obviously, many you will know him. Jenny Cave has experience in tourism, local government, heritage and culture. And then we've got Charlotte next to me, who many of you will also know, having worked for council before, but specialising in communications and engagement. Then we've also got Jason, who lives in the digital marketing space and also customer experience space. And then we also have a new trustee since we last spoke to you, Beth Tauroa, who is a civic planner and heritage specialist. And she was also a trustee of Ngāti Koroki Kahukura. So really good to have some mana whenua representation on the trust too. And then I thought today we could just introduce you to a few of the key people that we've been working with. And I did realise I've forgotten to mention a couple as well, so I will do that. Firstly, just on our general manager space. So we've spent the last probably 4 months in a really big recruitment process, a really thorough process actually, where we've taken on, we've used a recruitment specialist to do it with us, spent a lot of time getting the position description right and making sure that we are getting the perfect person for the job. And we have made a verbal offer to somebody, which has been accepted. So hopefully in the very near future, we'll be able to share with you who that person is, and hopefully they're starting early next year, which will be great to give the trust a bit of resource for what we need to do going forward and to kind of speed up our operational processes. Also, I thought I'd just introduce, some of you would have met Moira Coots at the last presentation, I think that was done here. So she's working really closely with our facilities and development subcommittee, doing a lot of the background work for our LTP submission with Jenny Cave. in Antanas, and Beth also doing that. Working obviously quite closely with Destination Cambridge, who are still doing the booking and the hireage for the town hall, and taking care of a lot of the day-to-day stuff as we make the transition and work through the transition process from council. I thought I'd also introduce Robin Pell, who is our secretary. So we recruited her quite early on in the piece, and she's been really great to get our minutes and make sure that we're actually keeping on top of what we need to from that perspective. We have an accountant on board, which is great. So we're using Evans Doyle, and they did our first year of accounts not so long ago, which was awesome. And then the other people that I've forgotten to put up there, but DTI Lawyers in Hamilton. So Charlotte from there has been working really closely with us on a lot of our agreements and things. And also Ricky Winariki, who is, Winakini, who is seconded to our events and marketing subcommittee. So he is mana whenua in that space as well. Really, I think most of you will have seen our principles before, so I won't go through them. You just read them there, but they basically form how the trust goes ahead and how we conduct ourselves, I guess, and our vision for the town hall. So obviously principles continue. And then I thought I would just talk a little bit to our plans for the future. So broken them down sort of into key areas. So in the community engagement space, we held our Meet the Candidate event, obviously in September, and got ourselves into the business community a little bit more with the Chamber of Commerce, also hosting that event with us. We've been working quite closely, and Charlotte will go through this some more, on our branding feedback. So we've engaged a branding specialist to help us with that. And also just general feedback from the community, which we put an advertisement in the Cambridge News and not so long ago, and had some feedback for that, which has been great. In terms of our operational systems, we're working really closely with some of the staff at council, Chris and Dustin Mills, on exactly what that transition plan looks like and the practical steps that need to go into making that a reality. Working obviously really hard on recruitment, the branding, and then we've also done a lot of brainstorming on what our policies might look like as we move forward, because we are starting from scratch, so there's a lot of work to do in that space. And then obviously once we get our general manager on board, we'll be looking really closely at what our operational structure looks like going forward, which won't preempt anything there. So there have been a lot of work going into the capital works from the trust. So our facilities and development subcommittee, who had presented here and got the $1.8 million of capital funding for this current year. The planning for that is well underway, and Moira is doing some really great work in that space. So it may be that it's not fully completed by the end of this year, but it will carry forward into the next 12 months. What we're working on at the moment is another plan for the next phase of our capital structures. So there's another $2 million in the budget for that, and just what that might look like and what we can do with that in terms of the short-term activation, but also making sure it all feeds into the long-term visions for the town hall as well. So I think there's the long-term plan process. There's a submission being worked on really hard at the moment with Jenny and Moira are working on that. So making sure that we've got everything we need to get in early next year to make sure that we hit the submission process for future dates as well. And now I'll pass you over to Charlotte.
Yeah, so the last couple of months, morning everyone, afternoon, don't know what time it is. Yeah, so for the last couple of months, we've been like exploring our branding and identity for the town hall. So we basically want to create a really good visual identity for the space. It's not like a simple logo creation. We want to package up the town hall into something that is exciting and inspiring for people so that we can immediately reactivate the town hall and then more long term drive more events and activities into that space. So this is quite a cool piece of work. We've been engaging with a company called Designwell in Hamilton, and they have a sister company called Daymark. So we took quite a bit of time to select who could strategically help us through this process, and chose this particular company because one of the key projects at the moment is the Hamilton Zoo Waiwhakariki Precinct project, which is, so they've got experience with community engagement, engaging with mana whenua, and also in the local government space. But some of their previous projects are also really exciting, and they bring branding and identity into spaces as well. So you may have been into Panama Square, which is a development done by Matt Stark in Hamilton, in the corner of Garden Place. It's a really, really cool, vibrant space. And they've also done Mr. Pickles, locally homebrew. So some really, really cool activations and bringing that branding in. So what we wanted to do is basically revisit our mission and our vision and translate that into a brand, with the keywords being relevant, vibrant, and connected. So we drilled down in a couple of strategy days actually into what those words actually mean in terms of where we think the current town hall sits, and where we want it to be in the future. So relevant meaning that it's a space that reflects community needs. It is modernised and flexible. It's accessible, multi-generational, multi-purpose. It can, host a range of different events. It's a place which is just not just a building. It's a space, and it's living. It's self-sustaining, and it's evolving and not stuck in the past. Vibrant meaning bright and light, with happy and engaged people, a memorable atmosphere, which is something that people probably had in the past that we want to bring forward to the future as well. A space that delights and satisfies the people that use it. It's continually activated. It's a space that you want to go back to because it's cool, it's addictive. That it fosters community pride. It's distinctive in its design, and has a whole variety of different uses, and connected in terms of it being about people and place. It's an anchor point. It's a hub in the Cambridge community in particular, but also more broadly Waipa. We want to also, attract international performances and events in the future, to bring economic development opportunities to the town in the district. We want people to feel connected to it physically, emotionally. So all those really good things. So we looked at the current use. So about 30 to 40 events per year pre-COVID, some performances, some theatre productions, some community gatherings, the odd waka kotahi engagement event, a few weddings still, some corporate meetings, but really the space is like really lacking to be able to, provide like a get in, get out type of venue. We've talked before at length about the immediate need to get it up to scratch so that it can suit a range of different events now. One of the most significant things is that it still hosts the fire alarm. And that's probably how some people sort of know the Cambridge Town Hall. And so we looked about how we can amplify that and what's possible in terms of performance and theatre, dances, cool concerts, being a space that young people also like to use. A play space, all these sorts of words that really fall into the four well-beings that you're familiar with anyway. And so we also brought Ngāti Kuriki Kahukura and Ngāti Hawa through the town hall, and have engaged them at the start of this process, asking them questions about, what are the historical narratives and what's significant about the space in the wider area. Are there any ancestral names that should be considered or recognised in our branding and identity work? And, are there themes or words or narratives that we could use to embody the vision? And there were a number of different themes that came through. One significant one being acknowledging the past. So Cambridge is known as the washbowl of sorrow. So it's a place, particularly Lake Te Kutu, where people healed. And so we wanted to pay respect to that. We're by a significant body of water, and we wanted to bring those themes through as well. But the other two that were quite significant to us is that, it's a central harbour welcoming space. People typically, when they share their memories of the Cambridge Town Hall, they go back to, the ball, the people that they were with, how they felt, the feast that they ate. So we really want to honour those memories, and it actually falls in really nicely with this theme here. And the other one is the Marakai Garden. There were a lot of kumara growing around that area. And yeah, again, there's some crossover because people think about the food and that they ate when they were at the event. And yeah, so we're trying to honour those things. And then the other one was the realm of potential. So that definitely fits really nicely with the future and where we want to be. Because I guess the whole reason why this trust was set up is to realise the town hall's full potential. Yeah, there were three things that we basically wanted to do through this process that stood out to us. One is that the brand needs to reflect the uniquely transportive nature of the town hall. So as I just said before, when people share their memories of the town hall, it takes you back to an experience of who they were with, what they ate, and we want to honour that. We also want to honour the fact that the town hall sits in the hub of the community. It's right in the middle, and the other aspect is the boutique performances, which we want to pitch it as. And I guess that will differentiate what the town hall offers as opposed to other venues around the broader Waikato region. What we know is that the Cambridge Town Hall will not be a Waikato regional theatre, and we don't want it to be. I'm just further exploring those key principles, those key themes. So uniquely transportive. It's a iconic historical building, rare in regional New Zealand. It's distinctive and grandiose, but still accessible. And it has connection to the past and present, and has the power to transport people back to those memories and experiences. Also looked at the town concept plan. So this is definitely quite significant for when we start developing the long-term plan business case. The fact that it's in the hub, we want it to be connected to the areas around it. And bring that distinctive sort of situation through when we position, the future opportunity. And I mentioned before boutique performances. So we want to draw very distinctive types of events, so small, intimate performances, but also be flexible and functional for more tailored experiences. So we've looked at our three keywords: timeless, distinctive, and flexible, and looked at a range of different brands across the globe. One that really stood out to us, which is a little bit more abstract, is the Acne Church, which you see on the top right-hand side. That was a similar sort of venue where it was an older space that they created a following around, and it turned into a real trendy vibe. So that's kind of inspired us with one of our concepts. So Designwell and Daymark have delivered 2 concepts to us at the moment, which I'll share with you today. They're not quite right just yet, but we just wanted to be transparent and let you know where we're at with these concepts. So the first one is the more abstract one, where we've looked at a particular feature of the facade that people would recognise. And here you'll see the front doors and the step area. The steps of the icon are subtle and they're a nod to the forms found in basket weaving. And the icon overall becomes a vessel container for the possibilities of the town hall. So the unexpected nature and simplicity of the icon gives a brand mark that's distinctive, versatile, and will stand the test of time. And we're using the doorway to give a sense of having arrived at a special place, a gateway to a communal experience. And you can, one of the other cool things that they've done is they've actually pulled off the type font on the top of the building and created that into a larger font for us that we can use in application and marketing and publicity material. So it really does pay respect to the 1909 original font used on the building. And then concept 2 is your space to create. So this is a more literal translation. They've used the facade and they've pulled out elements of it that can be put into marketing material. And then that can also be used into that sort of weaving thing. I think they call that the tuki tuki, which is a panel on the side of the whare. And this just shows the opportunities with each of these brands and applications. So you'll see one is more abstract, more subtle colour palette, and the one on the right is more bright and vibrant and really gives respect to the food garden theme. So on 2 opposite ends of the spectrum really there. So what we're doing at the moment is going out to some key stakeholders and getting some input at the outset around what they think before anything's signed off, and really wanted to use this as an opportunity to share where we're at and hopefully inspire you to give your thoughts on what you think would be possible as well. Basically, we're ready to uplift this brand and activate the space. So it's probably one of the more visual things I've been working on lately that we're really excited to get out there with. And this will lead the development of a whole range of collateral that we can use for marketing types of purposes to really get more events, attract people into the space. So we do have a more detailed presentation if you'd like to see it. I'm happy to share. But yeah, if you do have any questions, now's the time.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kirsty and Charlotte. You put a lot of effort into this already, I suppose already, it's been a wee while now. Yeah, and look, you know, from what I understand, the building of this hall way back when was a very ambitious project for the size of the town at that time. And I think you're reflecting a similar ambition for it going forward. Which is pretty awesome, actually. So, Roger and anyone else with questions? Just Roger.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to say much because we've had the opportunity to talk about this, and I've got to say that I'm excited with what's coming out of it so far. And I really encourage any of my fellow councillors to maybe have a look at your further presentation by email or something like that, because it certainly gives an understanding of the thinking behind how we can reposition the town hall into furthering the iconic status of that, but also connecting with so many different parts of our community. And I think the work that's gone on there really will help to do that. So it's exciting. So well done. That's all I'm going to say at this stage.
Any Claire?
Thanks for the presentation, and yeah, it is really positive and exciting, and I wish you well with it. Just a couple of questions. Firstly, are you planning to also make use of the piazza outside as part of it? Because, you know, that's a great outdoor space, but it doesn't sort of come through in, you know, your concepts or anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just have a small issue at the moment, and that's that we need to do a small district plan change so that the piazza space can be used for more than 2 events per year. At the current status, it can only be used for Armistice and Anzac Day. But what we really are wanting to do, and as a matter of fact, we had a discussion with Kirsty and Vanessa yesterday. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We
I
had
can't believe
a
that.
discussion with Kirsty and Vanessa yesterday about the broader town concept plan for Cambridge and how that fits into Ahuaki.
Yeah.
And want to make sure that our vision for the town hall reflects that wider area and how Cambridge in particular will be developed. So yeah, had a good discussion yesterday and have agreed to, once we have a strategy day on Thursday as a town hall trust, that we will come back to Kirsty and Vanessa and talk more broadly about what else is happening in the area and how that space is best activated.
If I could just chip in there a second, we have engaged somebody to work on a resource consent application for us, which we've been talking to some of the staff about, to try and make sure that we can use the piazza for more events, even though that district plan is in place.
I just can't believe that. I mean, this sounds like a
Kim's got a
dreadful
comment.
bureaucratic
Yeah.
conundrum.
Look, I detected some alarm when Charlotte mentioned a plan change. So look, ideally, actually, this little gremlin would be solved with a plan change. But of course, as you well know, that's a pretty extreme and pretty expensive measure. So look, we're not going there. We've engaged quite a bit with the Town Hall Trust. We've involved our planning people with that. And look, the solution that we did land on, as Kirsty has just noted, is a resource consent and a fairly simple resource consent that will actually give the ability to use it for more events. And then in the longer term, and probably actually realistically, the next time that there is a comprehensive review of the district plan, we will build a change in there. So there are some areas, and in fact, immediately across the road from the town hall, and this actually probably does make the problem a little bit more, accentuates the problem. So over in Victoria Square, there's pretty much unlimited ability to use that for events. So as many events as you want type deal. And then of course, just over the road, there's a nice paved area. There's got this district plan restriction on it that can only be used for 2 events a year. So yeah, like I say, we'll work really closely with the Town Hall Trust to push the resource consent through. The indication is that will not be too much of a problem at all.
That's great. Pleased to hear that you're working with staff on it. Because yes, it's a great opportunity, isn't it? And so just I liked the ideas you had about attracting, events and business there. But have you got people with contacts in that to put the word out and get these? Like I don't know how big the market is, and I don't know whether or not it has to be heavily subsidised or if it's self-funding and that kind of thing. Like, have you done an analysis of that, or you've got a feel for it and that kind of thing?
We have tried to reach out to an event promoter who actually was pretty clear that they didn't want to bring concerts to the Cambridge Town Hall in the future. So we're trying to unpick, the why and the rationale for that position. But this particular event promoter has been working with 660 and has had other pressing things underway at the moment. So we're still trying to engage with them. And as we do our branding and identity work, it's really critical that we also get their feedback on that to see if this is an attractive offering for future events. So that's really where we've got to at the moment. Not that we're not trying, but
I just want to share something with you, because I was at the Pirongia War Memorial Hall Centennial a couple of weekends ago, and people were sharing their memories. And one of the standouts was, oh, you remember, you know, when Split Ends came, like Tim Finn did a tour, you know, of all the little centres around New Zealand, and they did come to Pirongia, and people just, you know, that was one of their standout memories, actually. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, so and just the last point is, I really like getting back to the piazza, I guess. I think it would be a great opportunity for you. I do hope that your terms of reference, you know, with your trustee would cover that. It's not just linked to the building itself, but that would go to the environs too. Yeah.
So not through the chair. So when we were pulling together the lease agreement, actually this was quite a hot topic. I suspect that's why Kirsty is smiling. Look, it was a hot topic in terms of you know, what is the footprint for this lease, and and where we landed in the end was that it also did include the piazza. It excludes the cenotaph. Am I using the right term? Yeah, excludes it does exclude the cenotaph. It excludes the town clock, the clock tower. But it does include both the hall and that paved area that you see beautifully in that picture. That's all under the lease agreement, or within the lease agreement.
Yeah, thanks. So I guess Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's the town hall has obviously suffered somewhat in you know, the last few decades, I suppose, really. But I think you're well on track to, you know, seeing it having a really sparkling future again. So very pleased to see you caught up with our Kirsty and Ahuaki, because that's a really, you know, everything of significance in our district needs to be, you know, part of that plan. So that's really good. And I guess, we just wish you the very best for going forward. Ken.
Andrew, sorry, just a question from me. So, so Kirsty and Charlotte, you did mention that, and in fact, back a slide or two, in fact, probably just back one slide, actually, you had your A and B option, and you said you were looking for, stakeholder feedback on those things. So are you inviting that from council? And if so, do you have timing for that, or a mechanism for that? I mean, you certainly don't want, designed by committee. But is that invitation open to the councillors to feedback and to comments on A versus B, or in fact, I suppose actually the question is better directed to councillors. Do you want the opportunity to provide some feedback, and how would that best happen?
Yeah. If you would like to provide feedback, definitely happy to have a cup of tea or coffee and discuss where we're at with both options, because they're both very different, and we'd very much value that. We've caught up with Destination Cambridge, chair of the community board, and like working, caught up with Roger, Liz, and we'll reach out to the other Cambridge councillors. So yes, you're welcome to provide feedback. We want to make sure we get this right, that it's really well thought out and really does, you know, set us up for 5-10 years time from now.
Yeah, okay.
And there is no deadline.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, ladies. That was awesome. I particularly enjoyed the way you encapsulated really comprehensively in those first few pages about what it currently is and what it could be and what it has been. It's pretty cool, because I was transported back to my first ball when you were talking about that. Was there long white gloves, you know, that whole era. I guess my question is, would you please be able to forward that presentation to other elected members if you're inviting sort of our comments, because I'm sure we'd appreciate a bit more detail than what you've provided just with us today, but it looks amazing. Well done.
Yeah. Hey, and look, we might. I mean, it's good actually. That it sounds like during your other stakeholder consultation, you've actually interacted with some of the councillors anyway. But look, perhaps the most efficient mechanism might be that that the presentation goes out to all councillors, and perhaps through the Friday mail out, we invite perhaps any comments back from any councillors, which we can then forward on. Yeah. So something like that might work.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. Well, that's that. I have a recommendation on page 7 to receive the information contained in the report. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Claire, for second. All in favour? Contrary, no. It's carried. Thank you very much, all three of you, and in particular you two. All right, okay, let's move on. New Zealand Motor Campers Association lease agreement is.
All right, so I believe that will be me. Actually.
Thank you, Ken.
All right, so yeah, New Zealand Motor Campers Association lease agreement must be one of the longest titles in history. But look, it's a fairly simple matter in terms of what we're asking you to turn your mind to, and that's really in regard to the term of the lease. So look, you'll be aware that in our community leases space, the standard terms of lease are a 15-year lease, and in fact, actually, it's a 5 + 5 + 5, so a 5-year lease essentially with two rights of renewal at the bequest, I suppose, of the other party, in terms of renewing that out for another 5 years and then another 5 years after that. The New Zealand Motor Caravan Association, as they have pulled together their resource consent application, and as they've engaged with some of the neighbours and understood some of the neighbours' concerns, etc., they have actually they've identified that there's actually quite significant amounts of capital expenditure that they're going to have to put into the site. So so just to be clear on that, they are doing all of the site development themselves. So there's a lot of it. So a lot of hard surfacing needs to go in, a lot of landscaping, vegetation, other facilities, etc. So there will be a waste dump station, etc. All of that, to be clear, is at the cost of the New Zealand Motor Campers Association. So they're saying, look, actually, the 5 + 5 + 5 really doesn't work for them with the level of investment required. So I guess their request to council is, could you walk away from your standard lease conditions and in the knowledge of what we're going to have to spend here? And they've said, could you give us a 20-year lease with a 10-year right of renewal? Okay, so a 20 + 10, a 30-year lease in total. So officers have had a good think about that. We usually do really try to stick with the standard 5 + 5 + 5, because of course those leases are a fairly generous offering. The amount of lease that needs to be paid under that arrangement is absolutely minimal. It's a very small amount of dollars per annum. It recognises that community element, and therefore what normally does go with that is just the 5 + 5 + 5. But look, in this case, with the level of investment that they're talking about, the officers actually are quite supportive of this request. But of course, we do need to come to you people, because it is a departure from the normal policy. So so that in essence is what they are looking for, and that officers are recommending. So so Chair, very much open to any questions or discussion.
We have questions from Claire, Marcus, and Roger.
Where is it, Ken?
Oh, where is it? I believe there is a map. So look, it's on
It's on Parongia Road.
Parongia Road. Yeah. So,
But
you can't see the context?
Actually go, right, it's there.
Oh, sorry. Actually, sorry, you're quite correct. Actually, it is unfortunate that these are actually layout plans and they don't actually show the road. Sorry, I have seen another photo that actually shows the site. So look, it is on Parongia Road, just past Patarangi Road. And effectively the very back of the site backs on to, I'm a Cambridge boy, I am not a CA boy, but it backs onto the wastewater treatment plant. The Mangapiko stream.
It's as far down as that.
Yes, I believe the stream is on the boundary, and over the stream is our wastewater treatment plant, which of course the wastewater treatment plant we access off Patarangi Road. This site though is around the corner and accessed off Parongia Road.
On the other side.
Yeah, on the other side of the river.
Yes.
Yeah. Sort of just around where the houses end. Yeah, but the access is probably 3 or 4 houses before.
Is it the old dump?
Yes, yes, it is. It is. It is an old landfill site. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
Oh, really?
Oh, okay, yes, yeah. And in fact, actually, that's a really good point, Marcus. So with the chair's forbearance, but one of the key contributors to cost to the NZMCA is the fact that it is an old landfill site, which actually does create quite a bit of cost for them in terms of development of the site. So any sort of landscaping and stuff they do needs to be kind of raised landscaping instead of digging down into effectively what is an old landfill that's been kept. So yeah, so it's that sort of consideration that has created some cost.
clear.
So the questions I had were around when the rental gets reviewed. So at the moment with the 5 + 5 + 5, it would be reviewed every 5 years. But if we're doing a flat 20 years,
Yeah.
does that mean there's no rent reviews or lease reviews for that 20 years? And I'd question that. But you're saying it's
Yeah.
a minimum amount, so it's not really going to make
Yes.
much difference. But I mean, what you would, those kind of parking areas, they actually do quite well. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a community service that they're providing. You know, my understanding is that they're very well used and there's quite a nice revenue generation from it, but I wouldn't know for sure. And of course, you're saying there's quite a capital outlay, you know, to justify it. So how can we be sure that the rent is reasonable, you know, in terms of, you know, the community benefit that's being produced, and that we're not actually locking ourselves in to quite a low rent, and they actually might be able to cream it for the next, you know, 15, 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, in regard to that, look, the amount of lease income we get from it will be very minimal anyway. So we were looking to use very much the same approach that we were under the community leases policy, and look, that's probably just a few $100s a year. Actually, my understanding of this thing, I stand corrected. Actually, there's nobody who's actually a member. So pretty Liz isn't here. She's a member of the NZMCA. Yeah, look, my understanding is that, you know, they have a membership fee, but you know, this is not like a general camping ground. Only NZMCA members, you know, can actually use it. They're restricted on how many nights they can be on each site. So you're certainly not going to get permanent campers. And I'm not sure if there's an additional charge for staying a night there or not, or whether it's covered by the membership fee. I don't know. In terms, however, of I guess the other thing, and I probably should have said this by way of introduction. The other thing is, you know, what they have indicated is in places where there is an NZMCA park, there is huge benefit for the surrounding, for the town that it's in and the surrounding district, because these people are rocking up in their quite expensive camper units. They have got plenty of disposable income, so that, you know, they are out and about in their community, eating at local restaurants, having coffees at cafes, and spending in the shops of that town. So look, I think that they could make a very, very convincing case. I haven't got that detail in front of me, but of general economic impact. They do contribute quite widely to the economy in the areas where these parks have been developed.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. I think that's pretty much bang on. I've got friends who are members. Roger.
Yes. What Ken alluded to was really, I suppose, a project that has been ongoing for, I think, 8 years since I was CEO of Destination Cambridge. And we worked with NZMCC to provide the resources of a dump station, first of all in Cambridge, for Cambridge to become a MCCA friendly destination. So it actually had that indication. And so having got that in terms of all the collateral that they produce becomes kind of a key that opens up the door for their tremendous membership. Te Awamutu couldn't get that at the time because they didn't have a dump station. So over the last couple of years, we've been actively working towards Te Awamutu providing that same facility, and hence then also becoming a motor caravan friendly town, which will, unlike that quite considerable market coming into TA. So this is really the culmination of that, which will be great.
Thanks, Roger. Lou, and then I think Mike's looking. Oh, Ken wants to go first.
Look, just a really quick one. So sorry, I was just going to, and again, failed to mention this, but yeah, bearing in mind, and it's the first paragraph in the executive summary of the report. So a year and a half ago, you people did actually approve the lease on the 5+5+5 year basis. So that had already been approved. Subject to them getting the resource consent and developing, obviously. So really, the big thing about this report is just changing the tenure of that lease. So the concept has been explored. We're very happy for them to go to that site. It's just all about the lease tenure.
Lou.
Yeah, thank you, through Chair. Just quickly, I wanted to mention to everybody, this is going to be a secured site, and the thing is that only NCPA members can attend it. So it's not for the general public, and it is paid over fees. So they're paying with a card, so they have an access way to get in, and they've reduced the size of the site, I see here too as well.
Yes.
So, there's quite a reduction. So when we talk of the lease, we're not talking of a vast area, and there will be a significant part of that area that we still will retain. So I honestly think this is a great thing for the district, and we do have a public dump site, which is payable at the moment, or it's actually privately owned, but it is quite expensive. And I do think this is a positive development for our community.
Thanks, Lou. Mike, did you?
Yeah, just a quick question. Does the footpath go that far?
All good. Yeah. Okay. Ken.
And sorry, just building slightly further on what Lou said there. So at the moment, I guess really because of the nature of the land and it being an ex-landfill site, at the moment we are not generating any income at all from this. So look, there's very limited stuff that we can do on this land without a huge injection of capital investment. So this is perfect from that proposition that we've got a party who's willing to put those dollars in. They will not generate much income for the council or the ratepayer through the council, but look at it as that wider economic impact that's so valuable.
Quickly, just to add, so there will be a resource consent that they have to fund. Correct. And put that all through. So all of that ties together. So they will have a significant investment from what I've seen. So they are setting up the site at no cost to us.
Yeah, no, all good. Thank you for that, everybody. I feel this is pretty straightforward, actually. So recommendations on page 9, A, B, C, and D. Do I have it? Lou, thanks. Mover, Claire, seconder, all in favour? Aye. Contrary, no. It is carried. Thank you. Okay, moving to page 14, the 4-month report. Financial report to 31 October. Nada. And Amy. Hi. Happy for Nada just to...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Ladies, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We have the results for the 4-month report at 31st of October. We can see that our forecast operating surplus at 33.7 million compared to a budget of 45.2 million. We had quite a significant drop in the development contributions of 7.5 million that were actually lower than what was budgeted. Our operating income is at 24% of the forecast, and our expenditure is at 30%. The significant activities was sitting around the same as the operating income and expenditure. Our capital expenditure, so we have a forecast of 181.6 million compared to the budget of 187.9. So we had quite a lot of projects deferred, and I think we've actually had some more as well in November that have come off. And the capital expenditure to date is 24.8 million, and that's 14% of the forecast. At the 31st of October, our external debt was 174 million. At this stage, we're looking at a further 56.7 million of loans to year end. And I will let Amy talk to you about the non-performance measures.
Yeah, so around the non-financial reporting, the organisational performance overview from page 17 onwards, that gives a brief overview of the organisational achievements over the last 4 months, and then also goes down into our performance measures. For the first 4 months of the year, we're looking really good. We have, out of 115 performance measures, we have around 80% which are sitting at achieved or measured annually. So a good start to the year. We have a few around the heritage site visits or site visitors, which are looking possibly at risk of not meeting the end of year target due to the closure of the annex for health and safety reasons. So that's likely to impact the ability for them to meet the end of year target, but out of their control at the moment. So, but yeah, for the first quarter, just looking at risk at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Claire?
Yeah, thanks, ladies. That's great. So some questions about the finances and then a couple about the non-financial performances. In the overview, which is on page 3 of your report, or page 19 of our agenda, in the revenue, it mentions forestry of 800,000. Now, I understood that that's the Sainsbury Road area and it hasn't been harvested. And so this is a retrospective report.
No. Yeah, sorry, if I could explain. So yeah, so look at so this is obviously a report for the current year, which is 22-23. Our hope is I'm not sure if Chris is gone, isn't he? But yeah, our hope is that we will potentially be able to do a harvesting in the first half of next year, which is in this current financial year. So that $898,000. Oh no, sorry, how much was it? $800,000. Yeah, so that was originally last year,
Yes.
and we shifted it into the current year, and that is still our intention that we will harvest in the first 6 months of next year.
Okay. Oh no, that's cool.
So that's referring to a reforecast effect.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That's good to get that clarified. On the financial risks report, which is on page 9 of your report and page 25 of our agenda, the inflation assumption hasn't been changed. Yeah, it's currently at 2.5 to 3.6%. So is there any intention to change that? Because I mean, at the moment, the CPI is 7%.
Yeah, so look, I guess there has been no change in the assumption. So there would, I mean, to be fair, there will have been some, because our inflation assumption was 2.5 to 3.6%, and you've identified that inflation is running very high. To be fair, when we've done the reforecast in October, we've got areas where inflation is kicking in to a greater extent than what we allowed. We've obviously reforecast in those areas, and look, a great example of that would be like the price of fuel for our vehicles. The price of petrol and diesel was significantly higher than it was. We have made reforecasting changes in areas in regard to that. I think the other thing to bear in mind, though, Claire, is that in regard to inflation does hit a council a little bit differently from what it impacts the general public. So whereas CPI is 7.3%, I believe, or it was certainly up in that territory. The LGCI is the measure of local government inflation, and actually the indications are that is lower. So so you can't just assume that everything's going to be out by 7.3%. Things are affected quite differently, and like I say, when we've that was our assumption for the annual plan. We have reforecast as we've thought we've had to.
Just left that wording as no change in assumption, because we didn't go through and just put a percentage on every thing that we put inflation on, but we did increase the likes of fuel and that we know that have increased.
Yeah, so in fact, what's happened is there's been a selective reforecasting in some areas that you think got the highest.
Yes.
Effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the reforecast is all about going to our managers and saying, this is what the annual plan said. How are you going? What's your expectation for the end of the year? So in areas that have been significantly impacted by inflation, they have they've obviously put a reforecast. Although actually the instructions were the actual writing instructions there were where you can make savings elsewhere to compensate or to mitigate against that inflation. Please do that. Where you can't do that, and this is unavoidable that we've got extra costs. Obviously we've forecast accordingly.
I guess maybe like in the future when this table's amended or something, maybe you could use that kind of wording instead of just saying no change or something.
That's a fair comment. I mean it is kind of only telling part of the story to say no change in assumption,
and it reads a lot better, because it sounds like you're really onto it, which is really good. And then the next one's on page 14 of your report, or page 30, and it's about the vested assets for capital expenditure. In fact, that there's none for the first 4 months. And is that usual? Because it seemed, I don't think I could remember one of these reports where there was absolutely no vested assets, transferred to council. And I mean, what does that say about our construction activity?
So just in response to that, we do push through a lot of the vested at the end of the year. So it is that awful timing word. And also we have had a lot of, so our asset accountant has been doing a lot of work with audit over the annual report. So coming to the October report, hadn't had a lot of chance to.
Timing. That's cool. That's cool. And then the non-financial KPIs on page 36, which is page 52 of our agenda, the number of walk-in visitors to our libraries. So it's mentioned that, amazing, we got those new gates, but they don't actually pick up groups. So is that a serious shortcoming? Like, were you expecting to be able to get account from those security gates, but in effect, they're not really fit for that purpose?
It wasn't something I guess we expected. It is though, the gates are narrower, so you wouldn't expect people to be walking in huge groups, but it does have a lot of other benefits in that, and obviously the security factor. Well,
I wasn't sure if, because they've only been in place for a short time, that's why the counts are so low compared to the target. I wasn't sure whether or not you were flagging that this is actually going to mean that that target that we set is a bit meaningless because we don't have confidence with the accuracy of the counts we're able to get. Be good to get a bit more, because it is quite an important KPI in our non-financial suite of measures, really. Because we want to be able to demonstrate the level of usage that we're getting from our facilities, regardless of the number of issues, like the people come to the library for other reasons.
I think where those larger groups that are impacting the numbers is going to be on a smaller scale. It's where you've got full classrooms doing visits and things like that, much more irregular than your day-to-day visitors. So it is going to be picking up the bulk of them. And yes, the gates were installed, I believe, the 21st of October off the top of my head. So hence the very small count. But it is. We'll have full month's figures in the next report, which will be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's any work that could be done to give us some confidence about the accuracy, or if it's not worth the effort. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Ken?
Yeah. So look, I think through the chair, look, we'll certainly understand the concern. Look, Amy, I just wonder if we do follow up with the library just to see what we can do to to confirm, the validity of that, of that number, and if there is anything else that we can do to try to make it a more accurate count. I mean, we thought we could put some sort of signage up or something. I don't know if I necessarily understand the problem exactly, but where it's talking about people entering closely together in a large group, you could just put a sign there saying please enter one at a time or something. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but let's identify.
We can certainly promote it. Whether people will adhere to it is another story. But yes, the problem is that it's where they're walking in side by side, incredibly close together, where it's got the single line reading.
So let's perhaps identify with the librarians if there is anything we can do to make it make it better. But look, the other point that you did make there earlier on is that this project and these new security gates, etc., do have some really significant other benefits to council. So even if they don't quite get it right in terms of counting the number of visitors, look, there's some other huge benefits in terms of what the new system delivers in terms of, as you said, Amy, book security and ability, I believe, for people to self-check out items, etc. That's all part of the same package, isn't it?
It is, and on that, we have stats from last month which show that 25% of the books issued from the Cambridge Library last month were via the self-serve kiosks, and 24% in the Te Awamutu Library. So a lot of other benefits and stuff, time savings, which can be redirected to other tasks as well. Yes. But we can also look to, we have our reviews coming up of the level of service measures. So we can always look at how we can incorporate other figures into those performance measures, perhaps around the number of issues. We can look to consolidate those numbers through the number of issues or the uptake of the self-issue kiosks as well. So this new system certainly gives us a lot more opportunity for reporting. So we can definitely look at broadening that range as well.
Yeah, thanks. And then just lastly, just a minor typo on page 38 or page 54. On the last bullet point, around about in the middle, it talks about 106 Herbert Street, Kihikihi. Yeah, the purchase is for 1.7, but I think it's 1.7 million.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Just a little
yes. Yeah, we're missing an M. Yes. A very important M that makes quite a difference.
Yeah, but thanks. But other than that, great report though. Thanks.
It's a bigger problem than the door count at the library.
Thanks. Thanks, Claire. And ladies, Mike.
Thanks, Andrew. I've got a couple of newbie questions. So just get me in the groove here. And everyone else, I'm sure, will know the answers. So forecast end of year external debt, we're going to be at about 230 million, right? How much of that is expected to exit Waipa with the exit of Three Waters? That's my first question. Have you got a feel for that yet?
Yes, actually, that is actually detailed, but I'm just struck with the page number you're on. Sorry, if you can tell us the page number, I'm sure I can.
13.
Yeah. Or of the actual agenda, is it?
29.
29.
Bottom of 29.
Okay, yep, cool. Just jumping there now. So, actually, sorry, no, it might be, sorry, I think I need to flick on another page or two. If you go to, here you go, if you go to page 16 of the report or 32 of the agenda, So what you can see there is you can see the breakdown of the activity area that the debt is that the debt relates to. So can you see that? So it's at the top of the page, it says internal loans, and you can see that we've got 18.2 million in the wastewater activity and 24.2 million in the water treatment activity. And is there any in stormwater? No, there is nothing at all in stormwater. So yeah, so that's your 18 million plus your 24 million is what's in that water space that will be going over to
Okay,
the
cool.
new entities.
Yeah, I'd seen that. I didn't think that seemed like enough. So if you go back a couple of pages, this is the second part of my question. So the statement of capital expenditure that details water treatment, wastewater, stormwater, and straight away there you're knocking on the door of 80 or 90 million dollars.
Yes, so part of that is forecast, not yet.
Yes,
So
not spent
that
yet.
will add, and it
Add
will
to
be
it,
loan
yeah.
funded.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it will add to the,
So
to
by
the, to
by
the,
the end of this financial year,
Yes.
that'll be there.
as long as we spend it.
Yeah, yes, to a certain extent, although bearing in mind that we don't necessarily always go to debt. So we run a depreciation funding regime. So we're actually securing income in to assist to pay for some of those assets. So debt is only used as required.
Yeah. So do you have a sort of ballpark figure of where Waipa is going to be left as an external debt position after Three Waters exits?
Oh, yeah. So we probably don't have that in this report. I mean, I'm sure we will have some forecasting, or we could, certainly forecast where that debt position is going to be for those for those activity areas. But yeah, I don't think we'll have that answer for you today. But what I can tell you is that 31 October that was the debt position for those activities.
Yeah. So I get that. So I could have an estimate myself by working forward on the forecast capital expenditure, assuming most of it's debt funded. But I get your points about depreciation and stuff. Yeah, okay, I'll probably stop there. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the next bit was if you extrapolate out, this is yeah, tell me if I'm just being stupid here. So we're going to end up with something like 150 million of Waipa debt, something like that once Three Waters goes. And then the final question in my suite of questions is the development contributions is sort of like seems really low compared to that. And so I'm sitting there going, if growth is supposed to be paying for growth, how come we end up with so much debt? That's the last part of my question.
Yeah, okay, so sorry, just going back to that same page, so page 16 of the report or page 32 of the agenda, so you can see a $79 million figure for DC loans. Yeah, so at the moment of that total internal internal loans, essentially, because we actually do take advantage of some reserves, etc. that we've got. But I guess 79 million of our 187 million of debt is the DC straight. And will be paid by, in fact, interest is being charged into the DCs, and the repayment ultimately will come from the DCs on that 79 million of the 187 million.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 224.
I figured I'd speak up on this, given that I manage that policy. So you're right, it's the 224 is when those DCs are applicable, and the timing of those DCs is related to the timing of the lodgement of application, and then timing of granting. There's 5 years before that application actually needs to tidy it up before that lapses. So that's also a timing of when a developer will put those sections to market. So as you see, with a slowdown of the economy and the market increase in actually trying to deliver those, they will control when they release those 2-4 sections in play. And then as Ken talked about how the interest will be incurred, that will be reflected in the next annual plan DC model runs that occur. So it's always recovered through that same mechanism, but the expected HCUs may not necessarily be there in time for that to be recovered. But it's always constantly pushed, and it does increase those DCs. But as you mentioned, if that water entity was to absolve and take over some of those rates, that all that funding mechanism, the funding mechanisms of the district plan, they all come out for Three Waters.
Cool, thanks. It's just trying to get we're in the middle of this massive capital expenditure program at the same time as Three Waters, and just coming in new. I was just trying to get a feel for the shape, that's all. So at a big picture, if someone asked me, I could explain it. I sort of can. Yeah, thanks.
And you probably do know this, but HEU is household equivalent unit. Okay, nothing further, Mike? No, all good. Lou.
Just quickly, first question through your chair was the fact that yesterday, when we had our auditors here for Audit and Risk, they talked of 101 Bank Street, okay, and the $3 million allowance. Is that going to be entered in as a figure or not, for the allowance for the actual Bank Street closure, etc., and what it would cost?
Yeah, so look, what the auditors required for this, I guess, was an annual report issue for the year that's ended, is for us to basically to diminish or impair the value of the asset for an estimate of what the diminishment of the asset is. So I mean, we've done that write down, if you like, in the annual report for 21-22. We have to what we will have to do, obviously. So look, there's a lot of work still to be done on this.
Correct.
It was a very rough, a very raw number that we needed to put through the annual report to get to the level where the auditors were satisfied it wasn't going to be material, and that they could express an opinion on the financial statements on. What we do need to do now, and in fact are doing now, is assessing exactly what the costs are. So planning what remediation would look like, getting a proper good estimate of what that would cost, so that we can make some decisions as to what we do. Do we actually remediate it, or do we because there are alternatives. So I mean, if those remediation costs are too high, it may be a better proposition to actually bulldoze and start again. Who knows? I would certainly be hoping that we are in the place where we can remediate, but look, those decisions need to be made. But what we had to do was to actually indicate that by virtue of the fact that there is no staff in those buildings and we can't run a museum out of those buildings, quite clearly there has been a diminishment in the value of the asset. That was what we had to do.
The last one, the next one was actually the provision of funds for the supply of information to the new water entity, and the actual cost to us as a council, because it's going to be a significant cost, and it's been mentioned on a number of occasions, but we've got to transfer all of this information to a new water entity, and that, as I say, will incur costs within this financial year, and quite significant costs.
Yeah, correct. So look, I mean, the thing about the waters transition is that the government has indicated that councils will not be any worse off. So where they are incurring costs in relation to the transition, or in your case, very specifically, any data information shifts as part of that transition, the idea, or certainly the representation from the government, is that we will be fixed up for that, or we will be reimbursed for that. Those costs are recoverable from the government. But as we indicated yesterday, we're building at the moment a business case that might indicate what those costs would be. And then I guess that that may require a discussion with the National Transition Unit in terms of how we make sure we aren't out of pocket due to the costs that have been incurred as a part of this.
Bruce.
Thank you, Andrew. Nada, on page 4 of your report, under the capital expenditure, the projects deferred, is the 5.8 million for cycling, not just for the Te Awamutu one? Or Te Prongi, that 5.8 seems a big figure. I thought it was it's a third bullet point on number 3 on page 4 of yours, or 20 of ours. 5.8 million, is that district-wide, not just for that one cycleway? Te Awamutu, Naroto, Prongi, I thought it was only 3 point something, but maybe it's...
I'll have to look into that to see
Okay,
if
that's
it's
no
just
problem. I just thought it was
yeah,
pretty high.
just that cycleway or if it's,
Yeah.
it reads that it is just that cycleway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it might be, but it's because it's
Yeah.
accumulating.
But I
We're
think
meant to
we-
have spent
yeah.
quite a bit of money already.
We had a carry forward of quite a few million last year. So it could be possibly the last year and this year together. Yeah, but I can get back to you on it.
Yeah, and actually it might, I think this fundraising meant to have taken place, which probably is not, reflected. And anyway, so Nada will get back to you. That's all good. Where was I? We all done? Questions? Oh, good. Okay. So, so we've got so the recommendation, page 14, A and B, includes in B the decrease of 7,456,000 relating to DC revenues, so timing, and an increase of $898,000 in income expense over the plan or budget, if you like. Both matters of concern, of course. We'll have to keep our eye on that DC one in particular in terms of timing, but I know our team will be doing that, so that's all good. The other two matters are expenditure brought forward from future years, so not too much to worry about there. So do I have a mover, please? Thanks, Bruce. And a seconder. Thanks, Marcus. All in favour? Contrary, no. It's carried. Okay, move on to tab 8 on page 66, Civic Financial Services. Thank you, ladies. Welcome, Yolanda.
Thank you, Chair.
This shouldn't be too much to, Ken, you're happy to, Yolanda, to
Yes, absolutely.
Go for gold.
Thank you, Chair. This is a pretty straightforward report, so I'll take it as read and take questions. Thank you.
Questions? Doesn't look like there are any. Pretty straightforward, as you say. So we'll go straight to recommendation. Thank you, Claire. And thank you, Susan. All in favour? Contrary, no. It's carried. It was nice and quick. Thank you, Yolanda. And yes, CoLab, yeah, so don't go anywhere. I see you have it, that's great.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a request from CoLab to make changes to their constitution. I've set out in the report exactly what they require, but they are requesting that we pass each resolution separately so that if they have support, that can carry, otherwise they don't amend it. So I'll take again the report as read and take comments from the committee.
Right, okay. People, any clear?
Yeah, thanks, Yolanda. So the big question for me is the director's remuneration. And if you have a look on page 95 of our agenda, it's or page 14 of the report, the top one there, that's the track changes of what the change is going to be. And, you know, we're given some comfort in the report that there's only one independent director that gets paid at the moment. But in fact, this wording applies to every director, and it would mean that council elected members might necessarily, well, might not even know about any changes that were made to remuneration for directors, which I understand covers those council representatives from offices. Yeah. So I'm not very comfortable with what's proposed there. I do think that that should be reported back to council governance so that, yeah, we're aware of it or we approve it or otherwise. Yeah.
Yes, Ken.
Yeah, so look, we would, and I'm pretty sure the report mentions this, but yeah, we obviously do have the ability, actually, sorry, just stepping back, if they were to significantly increase the remuneration they were paying to their directors, whether that just be the independent chair or whether they, if they did determine that they wanted to pay the council representatives, look, they would have to make budgetary provision for that through their statement of intent. And you will recall that every year they have to prepare by the end of February a draft statement of intent that actually comes out to all shareholders for comment, and we can go back to them with any concerns that we've got in that regard. So there's a proper legislative process for them, and they are absolutely compelled to I guess give indication through an SOI. So I guess we've got that safety net if they were, if this was going to be something quite significant that they were looking to change up here. On the assumption, however, I would be very surprised if they extended the remuneration to the other directors. I think it is just the independent. That would be all that I could all that I could foresee. And of course, what they're indicating is there's multiple shareholders, about 10 or 11 shareholders. So it becomes a very small number when they're just increasing the realm of their independent chair.
I mean, I agree there is that SOI process, but I don't recall there ever being any budgetary sort of sign off asked for that. It's more general. It's more about the.
It is.
Yeah, it's not really at the present reporting, style. It's not really at that level, is it? It's because I mean, look, like CoLab actually has a really massive budget, but it's not something that elected members get much involvement with because it's kind of collaborating together with internal budgets, to maximize value in that. Yeah. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah. So taking on board your comment, it is certainly here's our statement of intent. What do you think of it? So yes, you're absolutely correct. You're not actually approving their budget, but I just can't remember quite how detailed the SOI is and whether you would actually see some sort of rem increase coming through. I'm not too sure, but you do certainly have the opportunity to comment on that SOI. Yeah.
Any further? Yeah, look, I take your point. I mean, that was the obvious thing that came up as a query, I suppose. I've thought about it. I really, there is an element of trust involved, I guess, but I can see why they want to do it because it's a very cumbersome process otherwise to give the independent director or chair who's doing a lot of work any kind of remuneration increase that would be appropriate. I'm actually have thought about it. I'm comfortable with the recommendation as it stands, but it's clearly a decision for all of us around the table. So we have a recommendation, and my intention is to put it, and it needs to be moved, I guess, A, and then B 1, 2, 3, 4, all separately. Clear. Chair Andrew, I was just wondering whether or not we could strengthen the one about the director remuneration, about requiring that any changes are included in the statement of intent, so that there's been a bit of a discussion that what sort of level of detail goes into that letter, that statement of intent. I know that with these kind of round robin resolutions, they don't like changes, because yes, that's all. Kim, would it be, do you think, a problem?
Well, I guess, I'm just reflecting on that. I guess if I guess if we did say to them that, yeah, we would prefer, yeah, that it actually did become a feature of an SOI, so that all councils could have the opportunity to comment. I guess any council who's who's voted voted for the change the way it exists at the moment, wouldn't actually be disadvantaged, because it is still enabling the company to increase the remuneration without a specific resolution being required from the shareholders. But basically, I guess piggybacking off a legislative process that already exists. So yeah, so I think any council voting in favour of it as it stands at the moment wouldn't be disadvantaged. And in fact, I guess it would perhaps strengthen the thing for any council that was uneasy and perhaps voting against it. Yeah, so we could certainly convey that. But whether you want, I guess the thing to work through here is whether you want to actually put that as a very specific rider on, the yes vote is only if that could happen, or whether it's yes, we'd vote yes, but we would prefer you to potentially consider putting that extra requirement on. Yeah, so it's whether it's a deal. I guess what I'm saying is it a deal breaker or not? Yeah, is it going to change the way we vote on that item that they've proposed?
Just quickly, through the chair, just in the background notes that we have here, the whole idea of this resolution, putting it, was the changes to approved director remuneration, clause 16.2. And it says the changes are intended to allow council representatives, directors who are unpaid, to increase the board chair, who's the only remuneration.
Yeah,
so we do have a say there. It's not as if we don't have a say.
Well,
and these are unpaid. So that's what this is. And it just says the changes principally as a matter of expedience and efficiency. Currently, some councils require that any change in the remuneration of the director of a council-controlled organisation be approved by the councillors. So what I'm saying, this is, I can see what they're doing, but we appoint these people who are unpaid, and they have the right to.
So what you're saying, Lou, unless all the council representatives
agree,
run mad,
absolutely,
well, it's really not going to be too much of a problem. I guess. Yes.
I'm not sure if the control is adequate, and the trouble is, at the moment, the status quo, what's happening now, it seems fine, but once it's approved and it goes through, changes could be made in the future. And I think it's important that there are good mechanisms to make sure those changes are reported back to the council. But we don't search the directors register or anything, we are relying on, the SOI or something. And as I've said, it's not particularly detailed. It talks about, it's got a sort of a matrix of different things, and I guess reporting like priorities, and I guess I'm not particularly satisfied with it myself. But look, if you guys are happy with it, that's fine. I can vote against that side of it. It'll probably still go through by the sound of it.
Yeah, look, I'm not keen on changing that resolution, but I'm very happy to ask staff to make the request that any intended director remuneration be reported as part of the SOI. So happy to do that. Okay, all right. I think we've had enough discussion. Thank you. Good discussion. So I'm going to put the recommendation A on page 73. You received the report. Could I have a mover, Bruce, and a seconder, Lou, all in favour?
Aye.
Contrary, no, is carried. And then I'm going to put B1, that changing the group of councils, so that's completely unclear. We'll move, and Roger will second. Thank you. All in favour? Aye. Contrary, no. Then B2, changing who may be appointed to director. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Susan. Saw your hand go up. Thank you, Lou. All in favour? Contrary, no. Then B3, change in who approves director remuneration. A mover, please. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, Marcus. All in favour? Contrary? And record? Sure. Yeah, B3, yeah. And B4, other minor changes, it's set out in the track changes. Again, pretty straightforward. A mover, thank you, Roger. And seconder, Bruce, thank you. All in favour? Contrary, no. It's carried. Thanks, Yolanda. Cheers. Okay. Yes, you got caught up with all that. Well done, Claire. Okay, now resolution to exclude the public.
Yeah, and then what we'll do is we'll ask Margaret and her guest to leave the room while we take this.
Sure.
So just give me.
Okay. Yeah. So can I have a mover to exclude, please? Marcus, thank you. Seconder. Thank you, Susan. All in favour? Contrary?